We're back again. Week 3. Squeeze the Juice returns. It's rivalry week.
It is.
It's rivalry week in the big mitten.
Oh, boy.
Anyone who isn't living in the mitten, you're lost, because it's one of the best weeks in college football, arguably.
It's a week you love to hate, really. I mean, it's hate week, right? I mean, that's what we call it here. I mean, we love to hate it. You know, I love to hate Michigan. Michigan fans love to hate me, and MSU fans. So that's what it's about, man.
Mutual agreements. Mutual hate. So it's a big rivalry week in college football. We got a few less games today because we wanted that to be kind of the focus of the episode today. So we'll be kind of up and down throughout the episode. But for the games that we do have, especially in college, there's kind of some big games, arguably, at least related to this conference.
Yeah,
week.
for sure. We're going to get into it. But, yeah, it's an interesting week of college football. And same thing with the NFL. The slate's very similar to each other. Kind of some odd games, but some big ones, too, that you're going to be like, whoa. Like, okay, this is exciting. So hopefully we get some good games. But we're going to get into it. We're going to dive right in.
It's going to be fast. Ranked games this week. Number 1, kicking it off. We got Pistol Pete, baby.
Oh, do you want to do a recap, though?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's slow. I was ready to roll.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
We got to go back and shout. I forgot about it. That's
yeah,
on me.
we got to get the recap in there.
Recap of last week because of our records.
Yes. So we're both 13-12 now.
After 2 weeks.
After 2 weeks, we're both 13-12. So we got a winning record after 2 weeks. But I was 5-1 in college. You were 4-3 in college. My college record is now sitting at 9-4, and your college record is sitting at 6-5.
Still winning record.
Still winning. Yep, still winning. Actually, I'm sorry, 6-7.
Oh,
so not winning anymore. And then in NFL last week, I was 1-5. So it was a tale of two cities for me. I was 5-1 in college, 1-5 in the NFL. So I was doing something right, and then I did something really wrong. You were 3-3 in the NFL, so that puts my NFL record now sitting at a pretty gross 4-8, and yours is sitting at a pretty nice 6-6, I believe, or no, I'm sorry, 7-5.
All right.
So there you go. You got the edge in NFL. I got the edge in college,
which we weren't expecting. We thought it was going to be opposite.
Yeah. Which of course it's how it plays out. So my wins last week were Oklahoma State plus 6.5. LSU minus 1.5. You had Ole Miss. Bama minus 21. They dominated that game.
That was nuts.
TCU minus 3.5. That was electric, like we said. And then Oregon minus 6.5. Let's go Ducks, baby. They dominated. Bo Nix looked great.
Yeah, the Ducks really showed people what's up.
I think they're one of the best teams in the country.
They made a statement to me in that game. Legit. You'd lose to Georgia, but you're coming in, whole new system, whole new quarterback, whole new coach. You're going against Georgia, defending national champions, to kick off one of the big games. You know, it was an unfortunate time, but that's why they're still as high as they are.
But that was game 1, and they've shown every single week that they're a team that's legit. They're a team that's going to compete, and Bo Nix has looked a lot better from right now since week 1. So you got to give a ton of credit to the coaching staff, to Bo Nix, that offensive line. They dominated that game. DTR and Chip Kelly never stood a chance. But then my only loss, my lone loss, was Clemson minus 14.5. I have to shout out Cade Klubnik for getting Clemson the win. But DJ was just terrible in that game.
He was embarrassing.
4 turnovers, I believe, 3 or 4
that
turnovers.
That whole team looked embarrassing. Syracuse became a joke. After that second half, or after halftime?
Syracuse should not have even been in the game. They
naturally
could not score. They got lucky on the fumble touchdown because DJ just gave the ball to him. He's like, here you go. Here's a touchdown. It was just a terrible, terrible performance by Clemson's offense, and they were able to kind of pick it up late in the game and get the win. But, yeah, man, just that was a game where Clemson looked like they could easily have dominated that game. Ball control, just kind of done what Clemson's done in the past. But it's not there with DJ. I think Cade hasn't seen his last snap of this season. I know Dabo Swinney said DJ's our guy, but I don't know. I just don't think you can take that chance with DJ because his high is pretty good, but then his low is really bad.
Yeah,
So
and
I think Cade Klubnik maybe gives him a better shot.
the club, man, the club.
Clubmentum.
I think that's what came out of that changeup. Exactly that. And the thing is, I think he has DJ seems like too chill of a quarterback. Like Club, when he was out there, he seemed like he was just like charging head first, like into everything.
Yeah,
like he was
it wasn't even like he did anything overly impressive, but I think his command was a little bit better than DJ's.
Yes, 100%.
They were able to run the ball a little bit more effectively too with Cade, which doesn't really make a ton of sense, but
because he's
I don't know. It just seemed like their offense was like, all right, let's chill out for a minute. Let's get our
run game back,
together, and let's go win this football game. And that's what they did. So that's our NCAA recap. NFL wins for me. I only had the Browns plus 6.5. That was my lone bright spot, the Brownies. You had Giants plus 3. That was a nice call by you. I'm the one who fell into the trap. Davis Mills let me down. Not in fantasy. I got the dub against you.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Another recap. He won.
But,
my team just fumbled their lives.
Yeah, just a rough showing from your team last weekend. But,
it's not about
Texans, that was a joke. And then some other losses for me. Lions plus 6.5. Shout out Jared Goff in that offense with 5.
What happened?
Second
the
half
first
turnovers.
half was just like suspicious, and then the second half was just a joke.
Another team I'm shouting out for turning the ball over is the Colts. They benched Matt Ryan this week. Sam Ellinger is going to be the starting quarterback.
Horns
Texas,
are back.
We're back. So Sam is back as a starting quarterback, which could be exciting. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, Titans just kind of eased their way through that one. And then Pats minus 7.5. That was embarrassing by the
to
Patriots.
The Bears.
That was embarrassing.
Oh my gosh.
We're gonna get into the Patriots game later on, but gosh, how embarrassing was that?
It was hard to be a Patriots fan in that moment, especially against the Bears.
They couldn't contain Fields. He was
wet Thursday Night Football. Nothing was good in the air.
No, and Bailey Zappa gave him a little juice, and then he just looked flat in the second half. Ramondre Stevenson looked great as always, but just you can't depend on the run game for so long. And Chicago actually did a pretty good job of limiting his. He was good receiving, but he kind of limited his ability to run the football well. And Damian Harris, I think he's kind of just a afterthought now. I think it's kind of fully Stevenson's run game and his,
Harrison
his attack.
might be on the trade block.
Maybe we'll see, but it just felt like the Patriots got away from what was working for them defensively and offensively, and Chicago took advantage of it. So that's our recap. We're both 13-12. Let's, we're still winning, so let's not change the formula too much. But let's maybe
keep the vibes up.
Get a little separation from the loss column. I thought I had that with my 5-1 college weekend. I was like, there's no way I can
do that bad in the NFL. And the NFL hit, and you're just like, man.
6-6 week.
Kickoff this week. We got number 9, Pistol Pete, Oklahoma State, heading to Little Manhattan at 22 Kansas State. 22 Kansas State coming off a tough loss against TCU last week. Oklahoma State kind of bounced back, but put up some big points. How does this game go down? Is it going to be another kind of shootout kind of vibe? Or, I don't know. What do you got going on?
So, let me give you this stat. Oklahoma State's got the number 4 scoring offense in the country. Kansas State's offense or defense is just giving up 20 points per game as opposed to Oklahoma State giving up 29 points per game. So I see a high scoring game because it's Big 12 football. And look, it depends. Recently. Yeah, and Oklahoma State just finds themselves in high scoring games. I mean, they average 44 points a game. You do that by putting the ball in the end zone. Look, TCU destroyed Kansas State defensively in the second half, but I think they got a little lucky with Martinez going out early. And then the backup, Will Howard, coming in. He looked good for a stretch. Then he got banged up for a little portion of the game. TCU was able to take advantage of kind of going against maybe a little bit of a weaker quarterback towards the end. Once Will Howard left the game, they kind of took over. And, depending on which quarterback plays for Kansas State, I think that kind of determines the game for me. The colleges, they're not like the NFL. You don't get the injury report. You don't get updates like you do typically, you kind of have to wait and see till game time. So this is a 3:30 kickoff. If you're not totally comfortable, playing this game till kind of right up before kickoff to see who's going to start for Kansas State, I respect that. But Big 12 is so crazy. So even if Will Howard plays, I thought Will Howard looked good against
He
TCU.
did. He came in. I mean, he played majority of the game.
He did.
Like, pretty much the whole game.
He did. So, and I thought they looked good. But here's the thing. I picked Oklahoma State first 2 weeks. I'm not going to get off Pistol Pete's bandwagon yet. I'm going to take... They had a really good performance against Texas, too. Spencer Sanders, his shoulder's been feeling better. I'm not too worried about this being a road game for Oklahoma State. They can show themselves, home or away. I'm not totally scared that it's in Manhattan, Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas, baby. Maybe I'd rather be a rock chalk, though.
Probably.
Love the Jayhawks.
So I'll take the Cowboys, though.
I respect that pick. Oklahoma State is always, like we said, always putting up points. They seem to continuously be hot, and then they've just hit, at certain times, they've hit like those unfortunate breaks. Football, back and forth, pro, college, whatever. Home field advantage can be one thing or another. I think for Kansas State in this game, it's a huge thing. They're coming off what could have been a big win against TCU and what you could have said arguably should have been if Adrian Martinez was playing. But like we said, the backup did really well. I'm taking Kansas State here.
Okay.
I'm taking Kansas to win the game. I'm taking Kansas State -1.5 in this one. I'm trusting the Wildcats to get it done at home. I know Pistol Pete's going to be firing probably on all cylinders. They have the experience. They know what's up. But at the end of the day, go Wildcats.
I mean, it's a good pick. Oklahoma State has won the past 3 matchups, so I'm going with a little bit of a trend there, a little bit of history, but they play close games. Kansas State is always dangerous. We talked about it last week.
Kansas State isn't ranked.
That's true.
They're on notice right now, kind of. More so than normal. So it could go either way. So it'll be interesting.
I'm with you.
All right. Onward. Next game. Could be a big game, could be a blowout. Depends on how the people are feeling. We got 19 Kentucky. Heads down to Knoxville, 3 Tennessee. Tennessee -11.5 right now is what they got. How do we feel? You got state versus state kind of in this one,
Yeah, I mean, look, Tennessee's got the -- 1 scoring offense in the country. We saw what they did to Alabama's defense. Hendon Hooker, do you expect him to slow down anytime soon?
Yes.
I don't think so. It's at Rocky Top. That's a huge advantage. Rocky Top's just one of those magical college environments. You can't recreate that atmosphere. You can't do that in Manhattan, Kansas.
No, that's fair. You can't recreate that there.
I like Will Levis for Kentucky. I think he's a good quarterback, and Stoops is a good coach. But I don't see Kentucky competing offensively in this game enough. I mean, Tennessee's defense is terrible. It's one of the worst in the country, and Will Levis can probably pick it apart, but I just don't think that they're going to be able to score enough points to outpace Tennessee. Like, I just see this as Tennessee dominating. Tennessee is scoring at will, and look, they shut me up with that Bama win. All right, they shut me up, so I'm not going to doubt Tennessee in this game. I like them to cover the 11.5. I think I'm buying into Rocky Top. I'm buying into Hendon Hooker. I'm buying into this Tennessee program. Give me the Volunteers -11.5.
It's a juicy pick. Squeeze it.
That's why we're squeezing it. Let's go. Volunteers, play the fight song for me, please.
Oh, I can't. I don't know if that'd be a problem. Rocky Top. I don't know. I'll make my own. Shout out Peyton Manning. Shout out Rocky Top. Yeah, I mean, I don't see any offense that is better than Tennessee right now.
There is none.
There isn't. I know people could argue Ohio State with their air raid attack, but
I think they might have more talent, Ohio State, but they're not producing the way that Tennessee is producing. No one is scoring more points than Tennessee. I think they're averaging 50 points per game. I mean, that's insane. So Ohio State's offense is great, but it's not Tennessee.
And their rapid fire offense, just boom, play.
Oh,
play.
I know. It's explosive. It's exciting. It's fun.
It gives me old school Chip Kelly Oregon Duck vibes. Not as much rushing, but the same.
I mean, Oregon they had those big rushing plays, right? This is just through the air.
Yeah, exactly. And these wide receivers at Tennessee are insane.
Oh yeah, Hyatt is great.
Yeah, you're talking in the Alabama game. He had what, 7 catches and 4 of them for touchdowns.
He was tremendous in that game, and I just don't know how you can doubt Tennessee anymore. Maybe against Georgia, because Georgia's the national title defender. and they're an elite program with an elite defense, an elite head coach, an elite offense. Like Georgia's just so good, right? It's kind of hard to be like, I'm going to take Tennessee in this game.
Yeah, knock them.
Like, I mean, you can take Tennessee in that game, but I'm just saying, like, I just don't think the argument really holds up here with Kentucky. So that's why I'm going Tennessee.
Yeah. All right, so moving on, past the Volunteers, going to win against Kentucky. Next big game, we got a Big Ten matchup, which is a huge factor moving forward. We got, hold on, number 2, Ohio State and the Buckeyes, headed to Happy Valley, 13
Yes.
Penn State. It's going to be an interesting game after the way Penn State performed against Michigan. It is at home for Penn State, but how do we see this game going down?
So I saw a stat via Fox Sports that Penn State has the most wins versus Ohio State since 2005.
Wow.
They have 5 wins in that time period, which kind of shows you how dominant Ohio State's been. For the most wins a team has had against them to be 5 in a 16-year period. So that just shows you how good Ohio State is. I think Ryan Day and Ohio State, they're very aware of what Michigan did to Penn State, right? That's obvious. They cannot ignore that Michigan dominated that game. I think OSU has to respond. I know that they've kind of, I don't want to say struggled, but they have shown a tendency at times in the past to be a little susceptible in Happy Valley, and that's kind of a spot where Penn State and the Nittany Lions can do some things. But the game is at noon. I think that plays a lot into Ohio State's hand. I think if this was a night game, that's a much more intimidating environment. That's a much more frightening place to play. The whiteout at night, it's just magical.
It's nuts. That
it is.
The way aside from Kentucky, the way Tennessee's been this year, you could argue that's one of like the most dangerous, crazy places to play in college football.
It's unreal. So, Ohio State, I know you have the historical stuff, but they haven't lost to Penn State since 2016. I think the Bucks take care of business here. This is an offense that just
won't quit.
I think they won't quit, but I think they also can take care of the Penn State defense. We talked about Joey Porter Jr. in episode 1. He's one of my favorite players in college football. He's going to be a tremendous cornerback in the NFL. But that run defense was exposed against Michigan. I expect Mine Williams and Travion Henderson to do the same thing. It's Ohio State minus 14.5 for me. I don't know how you're feeling, but I think the Bucks take care of business in Happy Valley. I think they're just kind of one of those teams that just you don't want to play right now, and you're not going to want to play, as the season progresses.
I'll tell you what, the way the Buckeyes have been playing on the ground now more so, because we've seen them be an air raid offense, but the ground game is just unreal right now. But they're firing on all cylinders offensively. They're protecting C.J. Stroud, which they didn't do much. Like they did okay, but not as good.
No, the offensive line's improved, and the defense has improved tremendously
all
this
angles. Yeah, with bringing in Knowles from Oklahoma State. That was a huge get for them, which is kind of funny thinking back about how we were talking about Oklahoma State in the past and how they've allowed so many points in the past, but now this dude comes to the Big Ten and has a great defense. I think it's just the Ohio State players.
I mean, Oklahoma State was tremendous last year, and they were just a couple yards away, on that amazing 4th down stop by Baylor, just maybe 1.5 yards away from the playoff. Jim Knowles was tremendous for Oklahoma State last year. He comes in, he's just reinvigorated this Ohio State's defense. Like, look, Ohio State is obviously an elite college program. They're a special program, but they showed a real lack of toughness last year, a real lack of strength on both the offensive and defensive line. And that was just uncommon for an Ohio State team that has produced so many defensive ends, defensive linemen, so many offensive tackles, offensive linemen.
Corners, safeties.
And it's just like, I think they got a little bit away from their identity last year. Now you're seeing Ohio State really become what they once were, which was a more even run-pass game and a dominant defense. And their defense is not the best in college football, but it is improved, it is good, and Jim Knowles has done a great job. So Ohio State, kind of like Georgia, to me, like those are two just one-on-one teams where I think it's kind of a no-brainer to pick them here. I mean, they covered close to a 30-point spread against Iowa last week, and Iowa's got one of the best defenses in the country. I don't think Penn State has any shot of slowing them down. I know it's in Happy Valley, and I know Penn State's had the most success against Ohio State, But even them having the most success hasn't even been that much success. So I'm going to go with the Bucks here. I just think it's an easy pick.
I completely agree with you. I honestly don't see how Penn State wins this game, especially with it being a noon kickoff.
No, I just don't think Penn State even keeps it close.
I agree. I agree. Taking Ohio State in the game, taking them minus the 14.5. I mean, how can you not? The way they've been playing. But an interesting thing is that, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a big factor, but it's going to be great. Supposedly, Smith and Jigba's coming back, but he'll be on a snap count. But that's huge for Ohio State going forward.
It's good to have him back out there, right? He's one of the best receivers in the nation, and they've been all right without him. I mean, it's not like they've had any significant competition that they've had to play while he's been hurt.
Yeah.
But still, the offense looks great. I mean, eye test will tell you, like, their offense looks just fine without him. So, even though it has been stiff competition, they still look so dominant offensively.
You're just getting more guys behind him, more reps in case of whatever.
Yeah, but Marvin Harrison Jr. has just ascended to that next level now with Smith and Jigba going out. He ascended to that wide receiver 1 role, and now I think you have 2 just almost uncoverable weapons on the outside now for Ohio State. So it's an easy pick. I mean, look,
that is
go Bucks. That's
unfortunately hate to say that
I
as
know.
we're sitting here in these jerseys.
I know. Which brings us to the main event, doesn't it?
The main event of the hour, even though it's halfway through. This is the main event. The Spartans, unranked, head to Ann Arbor for Michigan rivalry week. A big, aside from, I don't know, does Michigan State have a big rivalry game aside from Michigan during the season? Like how Michigan has Ohio State? Not really.
I mean, Penn State kind of.
I can
is
see
not
that
really
being
a rival, but
I can see that being the big game.
They've
if
been like
it's
the last
ranked.
game of the year, like most years. I feel like since I've been alive, so
that's kind of the big game.
I mean,
in a sense, aside from
it's kind of a big game, but it's not really a rivalry game. I mean,
at that point, it seems to mean less, compared to like Michigan, Ohio State.
Right. I mean, for me, I think Notre Dame is more of like a rivalry with MSU, even though they don't play often. I think that's more of like because I just think if you're from the state of Michigan, like you don't really, for the most part, like Notre Dame. So, and they're pretty close proximity to, Michigan. So
I'm 50-50 on that.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like, maybe Ohio State for Michigan State too, kind of like but it hasn't really been like a rivalry either.
Yeah.
So, no one really compares to Michigan for Michigan State. Obviously, Michigan, you got Ohio State and MSU. I know Michigan fans like to put us down, like to put the rivalry game down, but you can't ignore us anymore.
No, you can't. The rivalry game, always, for the most part, always shows out. Like,
yeah.
It doesn't matter you're ranked or not. It's a game.
It's one of those games where it's very rare for there not to be some intense level of competition,
or
some intense
crazy
level
happens
of hatred between those two teams. Like there's obviously, and you've seen it over the years, obviously a tremendous amount of disdain for the other side. And from the Devin Bush scraping his cleat on the Spartan helmet to the walkout by MSU to just all sorts of other stuff over the years. You hear it from Michigan media members. You hear it from some former Spartans. It's just everyone hates each other during this week. And, for the most part, I think we're pretty civil during the rest of the college football season. But this week, this game means so much to this state and to the fans. And it's something I love to hate because really it's hate week. That's what it is. No one likes each other during this week.
114 games in the history versus each other.
It's been a lot of games.
71 wins for Michigan, 38 for Spartans, 5 ties, which is weird to think about.
Yeah. That's dating back a long time ago. If you look at
past
when they were in the Big
years.
Ten, when Michigan State first came into the Big Ten, I believe it's 38-30-2.
Yeah.
And then if you look at just the past 15 years, or the past 14 matchups, MSU's 10-4. So it's obviously had its kind of ups and downs with who's on top. But in the 21st century, it's practically been all MSU.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think I'd say that's up and down. Because looking at this, let's see, we got 2000, Michigan won, Spartans won, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight Michigan. 1, 2, 3, 4 straight MSU, 1 Michigan, 3 straight MSU, 1 Michigan, 1 Michigan State, Michigan State. I think it's pretty even.
I mean, it's been even, I guess,
but
it just feels more dominant because it's been the past 15 years.
Early 2000s, I'd say.
Yeah,
Michigan, but right. I'd say the past like 10 to 15 years, Michigan State.
I guess for the majority of the 21st century, it's basically been MSU dominating this rivalry. And, most years where MSU is good, they beat Michigan. Michigan doesn't really beat MSU when MSU is good, and this year MSU's not good. They're 3-4. Their defense is just as bad as last year, and their offense is unfortunately worse. The offensive line is poor. They don't have Kenneth Walker. So you're looking at this game. It's minus 22.5 for Michigan. It's a night game. What are your thoughts? I want to get your thoughts first because I certainly have mine.
So, night game is a huge factor. And the biggest problem is it is in Ann Arbor, it's a night game, and that concerns me more.
Really?
As a Michigan fan. Michigan seems to be frightened in these night games. They always seem to not play like they normally do. We definitely saw that a few years ago when they did play. And
right.
and which sucks is it seems that Michigan State, even if they're bad, they play great against a ranked Michigan. But if Michigan's bad, they never play good against a ranked state.
No.
Which is unfortunate. I know I'm a Michigan fan. I'm Michigan, I'm going to ride. But
it's just the facts. When MSU is good and when Michigan's not, or even when MSU is good and Michigan is good, Michigan does not win these games against MSU.
And it's so unfortunate because oftentimes, you look at Michigan, you're like, oh, look, they're looking great. They got everything going on for them right now. And it hits the game, and then something happens. Like a switch flips. Like, what are we doing out here? The calls are being messed up. Penalties are happening. And it's just like some dumb plays are happening, and you're just letting the game slip.
Well, Mark D'Antonio, he instilled a culture of, this game means more. And you see it every single year. That this game means more to MSU, and it will always mean more to MSU as opposed to Michigan, because Michigan, it's within their DNA, within their culture to ignore Michigan State, because MSU is just a problem for Michigan. They're just kind of, you like to call us little brother. That's fine, right? Because that's what we embrace. We embrace that mentality.
The bothersome little brother.
Yeah.
It's always like, you're not a big dog. Let's go.
And Michigan likes to puff out their chests and flaunt and brag and do all this and that. But when it comes down to game time, especially since 2007, it's been MSU. So I can't really say much about the rivalry other than since Mark has been here, it has been all MSU. And now with Mel's 2-0 against Harbaugh. I'm not saying Michigan State wins the game, but I know this is going to be close because Michigan does not take MSU seriously, and they just haven't. And they can say that they will. They can say we want to beat MSU. That's one of our goals this year. But it's within the culture. It's within the Michigan DNA. There's something in the water in Ann Arbor that says we're going to ignore Michigan State. It's only about Ohio State. We're going to ignore Michigan State. It's only about winning the Big Ten. We get constantly overlooked every single year, and that's why you haven't been able to beat us successfully since 2007. So I'm not saying Michigan State wins this game. I'm going to bet it, though, because it's plus 1,200, and that's great value. So I'm going to take a little bit of my betting allowance this week and put it on Michigan State plus 1,200 because that's just amazing value. And if they do pull off the miracle upset, it'll be amazing for me.
In every angle?
My bank account, my alcohol level will go up. Everything will be crazy. So, I'll lose my mind, but I think MSU covers this game. I like them plus 22.5 because I just think, look, I know Michigan State's not good offensively. I know they're not good defensively, but this game means more to Michigan State. I'm putting my faith in Peyton Thorne and Mel Tucker to get this game within a reasonable amount. I'm not saying they win, but 22.5 points, that's a lot of points in a rivalry game.
Putting faith in Tucker is good. That's one thing. putting faith in Peyton.
I have to.
Is very stressful.
I have to. I have to trust my quarterback to get this done. I mean, he won it last year. He knows what it takes. They don't have Kenneth Walker. I know a lot of people, Michigan media, love to say this was all K9. This was all K9. Look, I'm not going to disagree that K9 wasn't a big reason why Michigan State won last year, but you're seeing what he's doing in the NFL right now. He's special. He's elite. So when you have an elite talent, of course you're going to depend on him to win you ball games. And in the end, I mean, he was going up against Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo. Those were two what were going to be first-round picks before Ojabo tore his Achilles. Mm-hmm. So you have K9 destroying a Michigan D-line with 2 first-rounders on it. Of course, I mean, what do you want us to say? K9 wasn't a reason why we won. Like, I just don't get it. Like, I hear all this chit-chat, all this talk. It's like, bro, yes, K9 was a big reason why we were successful last year. He's an elite talent. Like, what do you
like, what do you expect?
What do you expect us to say? Of course, we're not going to disagree with you. So,
and it happened.
It happened. It's like 200 yards, 5 touchdowns. Yeah, that's what he does. That's K9. So, look,
get heated.
So, look, Peyton Thorne, Jaden Reed, I got to trust those 2 guys. It's going to be big plays. It's going to be something crazy. I'm going to need turnovers. I'm going to need mistakes. I like MSU to cover. I'm not saying they win this game, but I'm going to bet it because guess what? It's plus 1,200. And I'm not going to count it as a loss. But I will count it as a win if it happens. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. That's just a side bet. I'm not going to put it on the record, but I am going to bet it because I think there's a real shot that they can win this game just because of the history. But all football reasons will point you towards Michigan dominating this game up front and their defensive line just absolutely preventing Michigan State from doing anything offensively. So if I'm looking at this game, not in a Michigan State jersey, as a Michigan State alum, with my rivalry lens on, I'm thinking Michigan should probably dominate. But this is not one of those games. This is not Indiana. This is not Maryland. This is not Illinois. This is not Rutgers. This is Michigan versus Michigan State on the road at night in Ann Arbor. This is magical. Give me the Spartan Dogs plus 22.5. I think this game is going to be more competitive than people want to believe it'll be. I think Michigan fans want this game to be a blowout. I think Michigan fans want MSU to suffer for what MSU did to them last year. I think that mentality just gets you in trouble, and I'm going to take Michigan State because I believe in that underdog mentality.
Flipping the switch now. We're getting away from all the stats. We're getting real. We're gonna get in the game mindset right now. Now we're just going straight rivalry talk right here. Put the stats aside. I'm gonna shout someone out right now.
Let's hear it.
I got a friend, Michigan alumni. She sent me her statement on this game.
Let's hear it.
It's very simple. It's very simple. She's not a big sports fan, she says. But of course, she's a Michigan alumni. So what is she going to say? She states, obviously, she's hoping for a win. She thinks, especially this season, the Wolverines are looking good across the board. At least the games at home. So that, she said, that's some solid energy that's always in the big house, right? But she agrees, no matter what both teams' records are going into it, this game is always a toss-up. But she thinks the Michigan football team is on their way to another playoff season, and she thinks MSU is looking not so great. Meg, shout out to you for this statement, because you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Road to the playoff has already happened. It's this season. You can't deny it. They're playing good. They got rid of Cade. He's a clown. Absolute joke. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. I'm going to tell you. Spartan Dogs are a joke.
I'm going to tell
Spartan Dogs are a joke.
I'm going to tell you something, Meg. Oh. That's even your real name. Look.
Shout out, Meg. She's in Boston right now.
All right, so you know what?
You going to call her out? You going to go at her?
I respect the Patriots. They're located in the Boston area, right?
We both ride.
So let's calm down for a minute. All right, let's take a second. Michigan is not on their way to another playoff bid. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. You know, I know, they're not beating Ohio State and Columbus in the shoe. They're just not. You had your fun last year. You made the playoff. You won the Big Ten. It was a great season. You still lost to us. You couldn't beat us. You couldn't beat us in Georgia, which is just crazy. So in games that mattered, you were...
Whoa.
I'm just saying.
Georgia's a tough call.
I'm just saying, going in that game, it felt like everyone was picking Michigan.
I thought it was going to be. I honestly thought it was going to be a loss. If I'm being honest,
it's a fair assessment. By you
it's Georgia,
dude. I bet Georgia in that game to cover. I was barking on New Year's Eve.
I remember. I got video of it.
But look, Meg. You're a Michigan alum. I respect that. I have to respect your fandom. And you're not wrong because, MSU is not looking great this year. They're 3-4. I'm not going to lie to you. They're not a great football team. But it is a rivalry game, and it is a special rivalry game. It's not... This game is different, all right? This is not Bama-Auburn even. And this is not even Ohio State-Michigan. This is a one-of-one rivalry for me because it really is... one of the few in-state games where it's just different. Bama dominates Auburn almost every year. It's not really a rivalry. For the most part, Ohio State dominates Michigan. It's not really a rivalry. It is on paper, right?
It hasn't been recently.
It's the game, but just because Michigan beats Ohio State one time in 20 years, it feels like, that doesn't mean it's a rivalry. It's been Ohio State dominating since 2006. It's different. This game is different because it does go back and forth. I know MSU's been more dominant lately in this rivalry game, but the past 10 matchups, it's been 6-4 for Michigan State. It hasn't been completely lopsided. If I stretch it to 14, it goes to 10-4. But I'm just saying, over the past 10 years, it's been close. This game is always close. This game always is going to matter, regardless of how Michigan fans want to feel about it, how they want to, spin it. Meg, you make a good point. We're not that good. But that doesn't matter in this game.
Shout out, Meg.
And I don't think you're a playoff contender. I'm sorry. And if you make the playoffs, then you can throw a cream pie in my face if Michigan makes the playoffs. You can pie me on air if Michigan makes the playoffs.
Folks, you heard it here first.
Throw a pie in my face. I will take it and I will, you know what? Whatever, right?
Oh, that'd be great. Book it.
Banana cream pie right in the mouth.
Here, I will shake on her behalf. Shook. You see it.
Banana cream pie right in the face.
Oh, that sounds good.
It's a delicious piece of pie.
Oh, I mean, I agree.
But, no. Michigan State plus 22.5. That's my pick.
I got Michigan taking the game minus 22.5. Let it roll. I can betting wise, being smart for a moment, betting wise, I get the pick. I get the pick because of the rivalry game while you're taking the plus.
Yeah.
I'm still going to take Michigan. I'm going to ride with the points because I'm going to ride with my team. But logically, that's a smart bet.
Michigan could for all football reasons, Michigan should win this game by 30.
That's the thing. Even though it's a rivalry game, if you're playing smart ball and the way things are going, Michigan, there's no reason Michigan shouldn't win this game.
No,
you allow Michigan. You're
100% right.
If Michigan State wins or keeps it close, mentally it's a loss. Even if they win on paper.
No, if this game is a touchdown game,
that's a problem.
That's concerning. If you're I know it's a rivalry game, and after the fact you might be I'm not surprised it was close because it's Michigan State, but Michigan State's not good. Michigan State's not as talented as Michigan. So this should be on paper
at least a 2-score game.
Yes.
There's no reason it shouldn't be at least a 2-score game.
100% right there.
Anarchy, chaos. That's college football for you.
That's rivalry week.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
So now we got the NFL slate, right?
Yes.
We went in depth with that game.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sweating. I'm fired up. So now I gotta just contain myself here.
We gotta make smart picks. Gotta make smart picks.
And I have two really dumb picks coming up too. Just to let you know, they're really dumb.
No worries, my friend. No worries. To NFL we go. Big ups and downs. We talked about the rough games we had last week. It was unfortunate. We kick it off this week with the hometown boys.
Yes, we do.
Dolphins at Lions. Lions plus 3.5 or Dolphins minus 3.5. I don't know what to say in this game. Tua's coming back, right? Did he come back last week?
He was back last
that's
week.
what I
He
thought.
looked all right against the Steelers. Probably should have had a couple turnovers, but got lucky that the Pittsburgh Steelers defensive backs forgot how to catch a football.
Poor Steelers, man.
You know, this is a weird game for me because I'm looking at Miami. Their offense is so dynamic, right? You have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert is even a speedy back, and they are undefeated with Tua playing the entire game. They're 4-0 with Tua playing the entirety of the game. They're 0-3 when he doesn't play. So Tua clearly is a difference maker for that offense. But Miami carries a 3-game losing streak against the Lions, dating back to 2010. So a little bit of history there. I hated what I saw from the Lions offense last week, but you have to factor in they lost Monter St. Brown early on with a concussion. That wasn't really a concussion. That was absolutely BS. The new Tua protocols. I get it. They're being a little bit safer with, when it comes to player safety, but at some point you have to also say, okay, this guy doesn't have a concussion. He cleared the protocols. Like, the protocols are now a little bit more advanced, a little bit more heightened.
There's a difference between, hey, I got knocked down, I got hit in the head slightly, and like, I'm like completely fine, versus looking like you're almost paralyzed on the field.
Right,
There's
and
a complete...
when Monter St. Brown got knocked, like, I think he might have been like a little shaken up by a hit, but I think that's natural for all NFL
come
players.
out of game.
And like, if you don't show signs of a concussion on the field, you should be allowed to go back in the game. I get they're being safe, and honestly, it's a good thing, but still, I think it really hindered the Lions' ability to move the football at all because they didn't have Swift. But they got Swift back. He's expected to go. Monter St. Brown will be healthy to go. Josh Reynolds will be good to go.
The offense is kind of back.
The offense is back, right? I mean, this is what we've been waiting for. Miami's run defense is pretty good, but they're not that great against the pass. So you're thinking maybe it's a bounce-back game for Jared Goff.
So up and down.
I think it's going to be a high-powered, fun, offensive shootout. I like the home team here, though, because the Lions are 1-5. They need a win. They need to bounce back. And I don't really love what I saw from the offense, but I think you can't have 3 straight weeks of just putrid offense. The defense looked improved. I don't think it's going to matter in this game. This is going to be points, points, points. I believe in Ben Johnson, this offense, with a healthy Swift, with a healthy Monter St. Brown, if they can go the entire length of the game. Lions plus 3.5, and give me Lions money line too. I'm taking them to win.
Wow.
I'm doubling up on this game because I think this is a show me spot for the Lions.
They need it.
They need it badly. And look, I think there's a difference at Ford Field for this team. I don't. If this was a road game, you can forget about it. But give me the Lions at home plus 3.5 and the money line. They need this win. They cannot go to 1-6. This is a must-win spot for me. If you're the Lions,
if you have
any shot at creating some juice this season, at having the players buy in and believe, you got to win this game. So give me the Lions plus 3.5 money line.
I love that pick. I'd love to see. I'd give anything to see the Lions win right now.
Right now. And maybe I'm picking this because MSU's probably going to lose tomorrow, so I'm just give me something, Lions. But we'll see.
When Lions play on Sundays, you really hope for a good Monday.
I know. I'm just
Mondays just get worse with a Lions loss.
It does,
and it's been probably
what you're getting yourself.
Probably
into.
It's been even tougher, with Michigan State not panning out this season, unfortunately, and then the Lions. It's just
no.
At least it's sad, but it's unfortunate because I may have a little bit of happiness from Michigan on Saturday, but Sunday going into the week, it's just for something, man.
Yeah, I know.
We're scratching and clawing for something as Lions fans.
I know. It's brutal.
But keep it short and sweet. I'm really hoping for a Lions victory, but I'm taking the Dolphins, and I'm taking Dolphins minus 3.5.
I don't fault you for it. Honestly, I want to pick Dolphins, but I'm not going to. I have to believe that this team gets off the mat and wins one. They're not this bad. They're not 1-5 bad.
No, they really aren't.
They're not
all healthy. No,
I know Bill Parcells said you are what your record says you are, but I don't believe that entirely with this team. Like,
they're better than people give them credit.
They're better than 1-5.
We've seen that offensively.
They're better than 1-5.
Something happened against the Patriots, and then injuries started happening. But a healthy team, when we see a healthy team, they're putting up numbers. It's the defense
Swift just completely changes the dynamic for me. And, you kind of saw it, too, against Minnesota. When he got banged up and he was out of the game, they couldn't move the ball in the fourth quarter. Swift is a complete game changer, and I trust that with him being healthy, this offense can actually do something for once. So, I mean, we're on to the next game here because I'm taking Lions, you're taking Dolphins. Let's just move on because I'm just going to get even more fired up than I already am. So please.
He used all that energy on.
We went from Michigan State and Michigan to the Lions. All right. So I'm gassed up right now.
I'm fired up. You fired up. Your arrow. Onward. We got, honestly, I think this is a very interesting game.
I love this game.
Giants at Seahawks. -3.5 Seahawks. Or -3 Seahawks.
Yep.
Apologies. It's a dangerous game. I know the Giants have been playing really well, and they kind of escaped with a victory last week in Jacksonville. But something about Seattle and just the way they're playing right now. It's in Seattle, all the way across West Coast game.
So last week against the Jags, I think Doug Peterson made a bit of a mistake going for it on fourth down instead of kicking a field goal, going up by at that moment I think would have been, I want to say 6. I could be wrong. But I thought going for it was a little bit too advantageous, and the Giants took advantage of it. Right, they were tremendous in the fourth quarter. Daniel Jones was running the football well. Saquon Barkley was running the football well. This is two teams in the Giants and Seahawks. They both can't stop the run. These are two of the bottom 3 defenses in the NFL as it pertains to rush defense. Giants give up 5.7 yards per carry, 144 rushing yards per game. Seahawks give up 4.9 yards per carry, 150 rushing yards per game. So these are two teams with dominant run games, right, with K9 in Seattle and Saquon in New York, but also two pretty poor run defenses. So you're going to see a lot of run, a lot of points. Play action is going to be hefty, I think, in this game too.
Okay quarterbacks.
Mid quarterbacks.
It's kind of like a straight matchup.
They're two really similar teams to me, and they're both surprising, right? The Giants are 6-1, Seahawks are 4-3. I'm going to trust Pete Carroll and this home team in that 12th man environment. I don't really have a ton of faith in Seattle covering a -3 number here, but I like what I've seen from Geno Smith more than Daniel Jones. I love K9 against this Giants run defense, and I just have to trust Pete Carroll because he's been getting it done this year. For all the slack he took last year, for all the, you can't win with Russ, this and that, they're going to suck this year. They've been really good. And the Giants have to lose at some point, right? Like they can't just keep rattling off wins. They got to lose at some point. So I think this is a good spot to trust the home team here. I'm going to take the Seahawks -3.
Interesting. I think that's a great pick because I also am taking the Seahawks -3. We agree on this one. I mean, this... You can say this is shaping up perfect for a Giants loss, like you said. Geno Smith has been pretty shocking the way he's been playing. He's been just hitting his receivers. The team's been playing better than they expected. I think everyone expected the team to fall apart after Russ left, which I guess turned out to be the complete opposite. Surprisingly,
they won the trade. They have a better record than the Broncos, and they have the Broncos picks for the next 2 years.
So that's fraud. Absolute scam. But no, like we said, it's a completely even matchup on both. It seems like on both sides of the ball. Home field advantage in this could be the big factor, especially playing different time zone. That can sometimes mess with guys. I mean, plain and simple, I think the Seahawks -3 is a great pick, but I think the Giants win the game. Bold statement. I know the Seahawks -3.
Oh,
I'd bet that, but I think the Giants win the game. I know it's a very confusing statement.
Interesting. So, are you taking Giants money line then?
I think I would.
Okay, so you're ignoring the spread. You're going with Giants money line.
I think I realized that. I think I'm going to take the Giants money line.
Okay, as we've been talking, you're like, you know what?
I know. This game was so back and forth.
It does feel like a toss-up. These are two really similar teams. I mean, I don't know. The Giants' pass defense is better than the Seahawks' pass defense, so I don't know if you're factoring in maybe like Geno might struggle a little bit more. I don't.
It's tough.
It's a weird game because I do think these are, two teams that are really surprising everyone. It's like, okay, how do I gauge this game with two teams that are overperforming?
Yeah, and they're pretty similar teams. I was thinking about that because I know week 1, I think I took the Oklahoma State money line. or was that
last week? That
Okay,
was last
yeah,
week.
yeah, that was an interesting pick. But yeah, I think I just changed on the spot right there, low key. Something about it didn't feel right when I said Seahawks -3 because I'm like, I think the Giants are still going to win this game. So give me the Giants and Giants money line.
All right,
change that up.
All right. I mean, it's a fair pick. You know, the Giants shut me up last week with their win over the Jags, so I could easily see them winning this game or covering the spread. But I feel like, you know,
this seems to me a more dangerous game than Jacksonville, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I just think Seattle's just a much better football team, despite losing their franchise quarterback and a Hall of Fame linebacker in Bobby Wagner and then Jamal Adams at the beginning of the year.
Yet the team's better.
They just keep winning, similar to the Giants. They just find ways to win, and I'm just going to trust the Seahawks here. Why not?
Why not? Why not? Hooday? Why not? Bless you.
Thank you.
Next, our boys head to New York against this pretty decent Jets team.
It is.
Patriots at Jets. Jets +2.5. How do we feel?
So, obviously, we covered in the recap. Brutal loss for the Pats last week. I'm not even going to bring up the stats, but, you know, it was just ugly. It was just ugly. The Jets lost Breece Hall last week. Tragic ACL tear. He looked so promising, so exciting. So I think that's a big loss for him. I know they trade for James Robinson, but Breece Hall was dynamic as hell. Like, you just can't get around it. He was so good. That's a big loss, too, because Zach Wilson has not been playing well. This has been a really run-heavy offense, and Bill Belichick knows it. I think kind of like Alabama following their loss against Tennessee. I mean, Bill and Saban oftentimes get a ton of comparison as, you know, two dominant head coaches in their respective sports. I think he's going to have the Patriots defense aware of what happened. Obviously, I think they learned from what happened, and they have a kind of a bounce-back performance. You know, in Alabama's defense, what they do against Mississippi State last weekend, they give up 6 points and it was a touchdown on the last play of the game. So it was basically a shutout the entire game. I think Patriots defense has a similar performance. I think Mac Jones, week of practice, you know, he's the number one guy. I think the speculation that Zappy's going to overtake him has ended because Zappy was terrible in the second half. I think Mac Jones is kind of firmly the guy for me, and hopefully for Bill Belichick too, because I do think Mac Jones is a better quarterback at the end of the day. Pats -2.5. I think this is a bounce-back game for them. A get-right spot against a New York team that just lost their best player, Breece Hall, and a quarterback that just is not getting it done. No Corey Davis either. I think that's big. So give me.
That's a huge factor.
I mean, he's been one of their. I mean, I know it's Corey Davis, and he hasn't lived up to his initial number 5 draft selection. But
I think so.
It's still he's had a good rapport with Zach Wilson, and not having him is big. So Pats -2.5.
That's a great pick. We got to ride for our boys. It's tough. I was really debating since we were talking about it about honestly picking the Jets because that was I think I was just riding with them and I just had a lot of faith in them. But after that, just really marinating, as you could say, on that ACL tear, and then finding out that Davis was out as well. That kind of changed things for me. And even after seeing that rough Monday night football from the Pats, it was, even though that was heartbreaking.
I mean, it's just for me, it's like one of those spots where you kind of expect Bill Belichick to have his team ready to respond.
Division.
Yeah, and the Pats have owned the Jets in the division, and look, the Jets are like the Giants and the Seahawks. They're overperforming. They're exceeding expectations. The losses are going to come at some point. They're not just going to keep winning. And this is a spot where, okay, 2.5 points. You're giving the Patriots basically a field goal here. I'm going to take that, and I'm just going to kind of, I kind of want to put this as my lock of the week, but the next game I feel like is really my lock of the week. So I'm going to say go with the Pats here. If you like the Jets, you like what they're doing, if you trust their offense is going to be fine without Breece Hall, without Corey Davis, sure, go ahead, pick them. Be my guest. But you lost your two best, for sure, Breece Hall, your best offensive player. And then, you lost a good receiver. I know they still have Elijah Moore, who's been in and out of the lineup because of his trade request, and then Garrett Wilson.
Not to be
but Zach Wilson just is not passing the ball well. He's just not. And the Bears didn't beat New England through the air. They beat them by running for over 250 yards. So
I believe Zach Wilson caught a pass, his first touchdown last week.
Well, he's a better receiver than quarterback right now.
And the crazy thing is, in a post-game interview, obviously he was probably joking, but they were asking him about it, and he said, well, what do you expect? They got the best hands on the team. Well, maybe you should start throwing better than you catching, buddy.
I mean, honestly.
You catch one touchdown, and then you think you're all that?
No,
be a better quarterback.
No.
Be a better quarterback.
I agree.
I'm going to ride Pats.
Okay.
Gonna
We're both
ride.
on the Pats.
Pats, minus 2.5.
Sounds good to me.
I mean, I agree. Division factor, Hall out factor, Davis out factor,
Yep.
Wilson garbage factor.
Yes, it is,
Pats
unfortunately.
ride, and we ride into the sunset with our last pick of the day.
Yes, we are.
Niners head down to L.A. Rams +1 right now, I believe.
Yep.
And first full week of practice for Christian McCaffrey in the Bay.
And I think that's a huge factor. He did not really get to be Christian McCaffrey as we've seen him over the years in that kind of rushed week 1 game for him against Kansas City. You get a full week of practice. You get a full week of learning Sean McVay's playbook, his scheme, how they're going to use him. I think that plays a huge factor. No Deebo Samuel this week for the Niners.
Shanahan.
Shanahan has been just... Did I say McVay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know you're probably
Shanahan.
Rams.
I know. But I'm thinking McVay has yet to beat Shanahan in the regular season, so I'm just not gonna bet against the trend. I'm gonna lock in Niners -1 here. The Rams offensive line I just don't trust. They have not been able to protect Matt Stafford, and the Niners defensive line is getting healthier. They're getting right. So I'm gonna trust that San Fran responds after a pretty bad loss to Kansas City. I think Shanahan will, similar to Bill Belichick, have his guys ready to go, ready to respond.
Ready to
roll this week. I'm going to trust Shanahan, going to trust Christian McCaffrey. I know no Debo. I know that's big, but...
Oh, man, I love Debo.
Here's the thing. Ayuk has looked good this season. Kittle has kind of...
Been up and down.
He's been up and down, but he was more down at the beginning. He's kind of ascended a little bit since coming off the injury, and he's kind of worked his way back slowly. Had a nice week against Kansas City. I just don't trust McVay to beat Shanahan in the regular season. I mean, he had the one win last year in the playoffs, but that was because Jaquiski Tartt dropped a game-winning interception. You're not going to get that lucky all the time. Shanahan has owned this rivalry, so give me... It's not even a rivalry. Give me the Niners.
The Battle of the Bay. Or the Battle of L.A.
Battle of CA.
Oh, okay. Bars. No, because Battle of LA would be Chargers-Rams, and right now I don't even know who would win that rivalry because they're both being garbage, honestly, right now.
They both suck.
Unfortunately, but no, I love the Niners. Niners over Rams all day. I think it is a close one, and I get why that. I think it's closer than I may honestly think, but I'm just being honest. I think the Niners do win this game. Even though it is in L.A.
It doesn't matter if it's in L.A. because it's just going to be all Niners fans.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. Like the playoffs last year, Niners fans took over that stadium.
Yeah, it's going to be all Niners fans.
Niners fans are riders, and you can argue that ever since the Rams moved from St. Louis to L.A., there hasn't been truly that many Rams fans. It's crazy that back when they were in L.A., there were probably tons of fans, but most of those fans probably ended up moving, probably being Raiders fans for a while.
I mean, yeah, that long gap where there was no professional football team in Los Angeles. And quite frankly, just pro sports in LA, you have two teams. You have the Dodgers and the Lakers. Those are the two teams LA fans care about. And then you have USC. So there's just no room for a professional football team there because they just don't care.
No, they really don't.
They care in San Francisco.
We saw the stadiums when they finally got back over there.
I mean, they care in San Francisco, and they cared a lot in Oakland. You know, it's a shame that the Raiders moved from Oakland.
Yeah.
But
it would have been better to keep them there. Yeah, move LA to the Rams to Vegas.
Right. I mean, they cared a ton there. So look, it's just an easy pick for me because it's basically a home game for the Niners, and Shanahan has owned this game. It's my lock of the week. I love this game because Christian McCaffrey he's going to be unstoppable. He had a solid week against the Rams. The Panthers just played the Rams not that long ago, a couple weeks ago, and CMC had a good game. Wasn't enough to get the win, obviously, because I mean the Panthers. Let's call it what it is. They're just not a good football team. PJ Walker was the starting quarterback. But
shocking win.
They did win last week.
Shocking win.
But still, it's just
trust the Niners. Take a -1.
Yeah, don't even overthink
bother.
this one.
No.
Just the Rams aren't a good football team. I didn't get to say this on the pod, but like before the season started months ago, I said this Rams pick for the Lions could be a top 10 pick, just because you have not had first round talent in a while. Injuries can happen. Age is a concern. And what do you know? They don't look like a competitive football team. Like, I don't think the Rams are a playoff team right now.
Absolutely not.
I mean, they're going to have to prove it. They could win this week, and they could shut my mouth. But Niners
are the team to beat in that division right now.
I agree.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
Like, who else is going to be a threat in the NFC?
I know they're 3-4, and they haven't looked great, but still, I think you just trust this team to put it together at some point down the line, more so than any other team that's kind of in the middle of the pack. So, Niners, we're rolling with that. And I guess it's time for the rundown.
Run it down.
All right. So, I got Oklahoma State plus 1.5. Going back to the college games, you got Kansas State minus 1.5. In Kentucky and Tennessee, we both got the Tennessee Volunteers minus 11.5. Ohio State at Penn State. I got Ohio State. You got Ohio State. We're Buckeyes this week, minus 14.5. And then in the rivalry game, the battle of the Paul Bunyan Trophy, I got the away dogs, Michigan State plus 22.5. You got the home Wolverines.
Big dogs.
The team down the road, minus 22.5.
Big dogs.
And then in the NFL, I got the Lions plus 3.5 and the money line against the mighty Dolphins of Miami. You got Dolphins minus 3.5. We're hoping for a Lions win, though.
I really am. I know I'm picking this, but gosh, for all that is good.
Giants at Seahawks. I got the Seahawks minus 3. You got the Giants money line. A little bit of a switch up there.
Yeah, late switch up. I was kind of feeling myself in different ways, and I was just like, no, I got to go Giants.
Our Patriots at the Jets. We're both on the Pats minus 2.5. Bounce back spot for Bill Belichick and that team. And then Niners at Rams. Basically should be Niners home game because that's what it is in L.A. We both got the Niners minus 1. And we like our Niners. We just do. We like our Shanahan. We like our Shanahanigans or whatever you want to call it. Shanahanigans. I don't know.
Causing shenanigans. The wave to the Bay. Down to L.A.
Yep.
The wave to L.A., man.
So those are our picks. We got 8 games for you. 9 picks. No, I'm sorry. I have 9 picks with the additional Lions money line pick. You have 8 picks. So let's hope for a good week. I need to do better in pro. You need to do better in college. So maybe it'll even itself out this week. Maybe I'll go 0-4 in college, but go 5-0 in the pros, and maybe it'll be a 4-0 week in college, a 0-4 week in pros. But we got to get back on track.
We're just hoping for winning records this week.
Hey, I'm 9-4 in college. I'm feeling really good.
Feeling hot. It's feeling hot. The guy's got 20 G's right in his front of him. He hasn't messed with it all day, surprisingly.
I've been so fired up and focused, I haven't even noticed anything around me. I've just been dialed in.
It's rivalry week. Games are big. Money's on the line.
Yes, sir.
It's going down. Shout out to everyone listening and watching this week.
Yep.
Follow us on the socials.
Yeah, we got a ton of content coming out with more episodes coming out. STJ Sports Betting on TikTok. We got our Instagram page.
Squeeze the juice _ breaking those words apart.
And our YouTube page, which this episode will come out on. We got the podcast coming out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Right? Correct. Okay. Both are live on there officially now on
there
Spotify
we go. So
and Apple.
We're fully into this
we
now.
We are all gas, no
brakes.
This Everything. Yeah, we're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. Also, we are on Google Podcasts. We are on iHeartRadio as well.
So we're everywhere.
I have loaded us up on everything.
And
we got Podcast Index, Podcast Addict, Pod Chasers. I send it all in. We are on everything.
So we are coming at you. We're coming at you live. Hopefully soon. We've been having some discussions. Maybe a little bit of a broadcast.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a broadcast,
so we're
live
gonna keep
show.
pumping out content. I'm gonna be on the TikTok page, pumping out stories, pumping out whatever it is, because we're having a lot of fun doing this. And it doesn't really matter at the end of the day if we're making money or losing money. We're having fun. You can fade us, you can tail us. We don't care. We're having a good time doing it. So follow us on everything.
Subscribe to the channel.
It's Go Green this week.
Go
It
Blue.
is Go Green.
Go Blue all day, every day. Hit that like button, comment, subscribe. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. 10 a.m. every Saturday. These episodes are coming out on all platforms. So thank you guys for everything, and we will see you next week.
Peace, guys. Go Green.
Bye. Go Blue.